So you're considering a move from California up north to Boise, Idaho. In this video, I'm going to talk about things that are going to be different for you and what you can expect if you decide to make that move. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Craig Flood. I'm a local real estate agent here in Boise, Idaho. And if you're curious what it's like to live here in Boise or anywhere in Idaho, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to make that move or you're curious to learn a bit more, me and my team would love to assist you on that transition. We get calls, texts, and emails all the time from people just like you who are curious what Idaho's like. And I hear a lot about what it's like in California and why you guys are considering leaving California. So I kind of want to do an in-depth video for you guys now of some things that are going to be different and things that you can expect, and kind of give you a taste of what things might be like for you if you decide to move. Cost of living in Boise, Idaho. For example, the cost of living, say in a place like Los Angeles, according to salary.com, is 42% higher than it would be for you to live in Boise, Idaho. Now let's talk about housing costs. So the median housing in Boise, Idaho is right around $485,000, while the median home price down in San Diego currently is $1.1 million. As you can see, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck up here in Boise, Idaho, which could be really helpful, especially as you're considering things like retirement, where you want to plant your roots, and just overall living in a place that is more affordable. And in addition to that, let's talk about renting, because some of you, when you make that transition, are probably going to rent. You'll kind of see what the market does, see what areas you like here in the Treasure Valley and around Boise. And so if we're comparing what the rental costs are in California to Boise, let's do that. So right now, the average rental in a place like San Diego is $3,400, while the average rental for a place here in Boise, Idaho is right around $1,600. And some reasons why you might consider renting is, one, because maybe you're making a job transition and you need to get some work under your belt to qualify for a loan. The other reason that you might be renting is because you don't necessarily know where you want to live yet, and you don't just want to buy. But obviously things are going to be a lot cheaper here for you in Idaho. And I know that's usually a breath of fresh air, especially for those of you who have never been able to get into the housing market in California. And maybe you've been waiting, and it just never happened, never felt right. And now things feel out of reach for you. Hopefully, when you look at our prices here in Idaho and Boise specifically, they don't feel out of reach for you anymore. Now let's talk about the climate in Idaho compared to California. Depending on where you're moving in California, you could be leaving some very, very nice weather. But if you are considering a place like Boise, Idaho, just know that we have a semi-arid climate. We have cold winters and hot summers. But just know the temperatures are going to be different. It's not going to be like what you're used to, most likely, if you're moving from California. So be sure to watch some of my other videos where I talk about weather, specifically about the winter. The elevation here in Boise is right around 2,700 feet above sea level. Where I moved from, which was Portland, Oregon, being a transplant myself and moving over here to Boise, Idaho, I didn't notice a huge difference in the elevation change and how it affected me on the day-to-day. And I do, though, when I go to other places, say like Colorado, like Denver. So that's something to consider too in terms of elevation if you're considering some other places that are higher elevation and you're not too keen on that. Now let's talk about taxes. There's definitely going to be some changes for you if you come from California to Idaho. So in California, you guys have a progressive income tax system with rates ranging from 1% to 13%, depending on your income bracket. So the more you earn, the higher your tax rate. Idaho also has a progressive income tax system, but the rates are generally lower, ranging from 1% to 6.9%. Now, in terms of property taxes, Idaho's taxes are generally going to be lower than what you guys are seeing down in California. In California, your property tax is based on the purchase price of the home, and due to Proposition 13, the annual property tax increased are capped at 2% of the assessed value. In Idaho, property taxes are based on the market value of the property and can vary depending on the county. However, Idaho's property tax rates are generally lower than California's. So most likely, if you move here, your property tax bill is going to be less than what you've experienced in California. Concerning sales tax, in California, the base rate that you guys have in terms of sales tax is 7.25%, but local municipalities can add their own taxes on top of that. Idaho's state sales tax rate is 6%. Though local jurisdictions can still add an additional tax to that, but the combined rate, again, is going to be typically lower than what you're currently finding in California cities. Now let's talk about education. So in Boise, you're going to get for kind of K through 12, you have private school options, you have charter school options, you have public school options. In addition to that, a lot of people will move up here for homeschooling. Idaho does not really put a ton of constraints at all on homeschoolers. You're really free to do what you want to do. In addition to that, schools kind of above 12th, you're going to have a lot of universities and community colleges in town. You're going to have Boise State University in the heart of town, which is really nice. So if you have older kids and you're kind of thinking about what options might be like for them, there's a lot of stuff around here locally and then also throughout the state that are some good options depending on what you're looking for. Now let's talk about income. This is going to be pretty broad, but in general, employers in Boise pay on average 17% less than what employers in a place like Los Angeles is going to pay. And that's according to salaries.com. So then if we take that number, 17% less, but then also the number where it's 40% more expensive to live in California, just know that if you come here, you're typically going to get more bang for your buck. So you're going to be able to get into a better house. You'll have a better kind of life to income ratio, and you probably won't feel as much pressure. And in terms of employers in the Boise area, you have a lot of options, whether you want to work in the hospital system or the schooling system, or you can go work for places like Micron. You can also work for Albertsons, the J.R. Simplot Company. There's Boise Cascade, Idaho Power, Boise State University, and HP. But there are a lot of companies that have started here. There's a lot of startups. Again, Boise and this general area, the Treasure Valley and all the cities around it, is the largest metropolitan area in Idaho. So if that's important to you, just know that that's going to bring a lot of opportunities with it if you need to find local employment. Now let's talk about nature and the outdoors. So I know if you're leaving California, you're leaving some great weather, you're possibly leaving the ocean if you're close by to it, and you probably really enjoy some of the outdoor aspects that you have there in California. Just know that you're going to get that here as well. So in Boise, we have a river that runs through the heart of downtown. We have the foothills. We have lovely weather to enjoy it in. Right now it is fall, and I just recently took my kids camping up at the North Fork of the Boise, just above the reservoirs, and it was perfect. My kids played in the sand. I did some fishing. We did some camping. We did some hot springs. You're going to have some lovely outdoor activities, and you're going to have great ways to enjoy nature here. So just know if you're moving up, it's not that you're necessarily having to give that up. It'll probably just look different, but it's really great. You can head south to the dunes. You could head north to the foothills and the mountains in Cascade. You could head west to kind of the Owyhee Range and the Owyhee River, and then you could head east. I'm heading east this weekend, and I'll be going out to Idaho Falls and through Ketchum, which is beautiful, like the Sun Valley area. And if you were to keep going, you'd hit Wyoming and you'd hit Yellowstone, you'll hit the Tetons. It's exceptional out there. There's beautiful rivers everywhere, mountains, lakes, alpine lakes, views. You go on and on. But just here in town, again, there's the river, so you could float it, you could fish it, you could go hang out alongside it, you could dip your feet in it, you could take your kids down to it. The foothills are great for walking, taking your dog out. There's ATVing, motorcycle riding. So there's lots of lovely things to do out here in the outdoors. You definitely don't move to Boise to stay inside. Now let's talk about culture, kind of like the food scene, what the people are like. I was just recently sitting down with a transplant from California, and one thing that he noted to me, and I always love hearing this because they've lived here for a month now, but he's like, man, people make eye contact with you. They say hi to you. They shake your hand. They're just generally kind. And something that he really liked is the fact that they moved into new construction, which is great because when you move into construction, everybody's kind of moving in the same time and you're all on the same playing field. Nobody really knows each other. You all kind of want to build community. Something he noticed was a lot of his neighbors, almost all of them, are also transplants from California. So just know that when you come here, it's going to be different. I would say in a good way. You are probably going to give up some larger city amenities, but it is a nice change. In terms of downtown, you have the zoo, you have great restaurants, you have Idaho Shakespeare Festival, events that are happening in the park, concerts that happen up against the hillside out of town here. And Boise is on the map, which means you'll get kind of events that pass through town. So just the other night, me and a bunch of friends went out and saw Nate Bargatze. I love that guy's comedy. If you're looking for a good, clean comedian, I would encourage you to go check him out. Now let's talk about sports teams. So I originally grew up in Seattle and I loved watching the Seahawks play. Super, super fun. Moving to a place like Boise, you're not going to have huge sport teams. We have the Boise State Broncos, so you can go watch college football. Something unique about them is that they play on a very large blue field. Well, I shouldn't say large, it's as big as all the other ones, but it's a blue field, very notable. In addition to that, we do have the Idaho Steelheads. Curious if you can guess what they are. It's a hockey team. So if you like hockey, you can absolutely go see that. So hopefully this gives you a good comparison to what moving to Boise, Idaho would be like if you were to move from California. And if you have questions about that, or you're considering moving, my team would love to help you in that process. And if you just want to talk about it, and here's my contact info, you can just give me a call. I get calls, texts, and emails every day from people just like you looking to make that move. So if you're looking to move in 9 days or 90, you can be sure to reach out to us, and we would love to make that transition smooth for you, no matter if you're looking to rent or buy on your way up. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.